This morning, I want to talk to you about your shadow self and your shadow aspects. But first off, I want to sort of take it back and talk about the workings of your brain. So, when I was doing my teaching degree, we did a lot about the psychology of the brain and the way that children grow up and what influences they have that creates their self worth and developing their personality and all the, the the neuron pathways in the brain as well. So I'm wanting to sort of share with you that before I lead into the shadow aspects. So when we were learning about being a child, it's like you definitely come in with your personality, but then the environment that you actually live in really affects your self-esteem and your self-worth. So if you've grown up in a household that's violent, or you've seen negative relationships, or the way that people treat each other, the way that you're spoken to, even like some families have, they label the this is the oldest child, the middest child, the youngest child, or this is the good child and this is the naughty child. It's like those labels that are placed on us as kids then carries forward, and it's like we start acting that particular way because of how we're getting treated or how we're getting spoken to or what we're being told all the time. But also, what comes into play there when you're a child and a teenager is the positive relationships you have. So, first off, you have your personality, but then the environment that you grow up in also then starts to affect you. But then the positive relationships. So, perhaps you're really good at sport, so that outweighs the negative. Or perhaps you have a very loving and supportive parent or grandparent, and so that way outweighs the negativity. So I'm sure all of you have wondered, wow, we grew up in the same household, so how come this person's like that and I'm like this? And a lot of that comes down to your particular personality, but also the positive reinforcements that you had coming in as a child as well. Now, how does this affect your shadow aspects? So, there's different parts of the shadow aspects. Some of that is the pain, the trauma that you have as a child, also the pain and trauma that you go through as an adult, and some of that is repeating. So if you've grown up in a relationship where as a child you saw these negative relationships, that's sort of ingrained and that starts to play out in your life as an adult. But then you also have the emotions that you learn are not good to have. So for example, if you're being told that you're stupid all the time, well, then you start to believe that about yourself and you start to create patterns of behavior and attitudes that then follow you through from a childhood. Also, you might have grown up, very angry, and as you get older, that follows you through as well. So you're creating patterns around anger. Or, perhaps you've got abandonment issues or alienation or scarcity, or there's a whole range of emotions. So these are all aspects that go into your shadow self. Different emotions, mindset, relationships, the environment you grew up, and they start to create, some of them create a pattern that keeps playing out, and others are just where they just separate. It's like, oh, they sort of splinter off. So what I do when I'm working with women, lots of different women, is really look at your shadow aspects and first off look and see what are the patterns that are playing out, what keeps repeating. Are they a relationship, or are they your own mindset, or they your own behavior and attitudes and thoughts? Are you spiraling down when you sort of when somebody judges you or criticizes you and that flares up, you're not worthy, so you spiral down into feeling quite anxious and depressed? Or have you got that relationship patterning happening, which then brings you down as well? So when you're working with me, we really delve quite deep, one at a time. It's like peeling back the layers of the onion to actually get to the core issue. So, lots of time when you have healings with people, you're really just dealing on the surface level. If you can, think of the layers of the ocean with the colors of the water, you're really just working on the top there and removing what's on the top. But until you actually go deep, right down deep into the darkness to find the core issue. And what is that core issue? Usually it's to do with your self-worth and not feeling good enough or worthy enough. And that's been influenced by pain and trauma and repeating patterns. Sometimes those patterns are from your childhood. Sometimes they're patterns that you've inherited from your parents, like what's happened in their family lines. And sometimes there's past life patterns that you've brought in. So these are all the different areas that we delve into with your shadow self. And, you know, to heal yourself, to stop those patterns from going ahead and keep manifesting and rolling along and snowballing, you need to really go quite deep and to explore. And sometimes it can be a bit painful to go into what's causing that. Where did this actually come from? So we dig deep to find what was the seed of this emotion, or what was the seed of this pattern? Where did it start from? And then really look at that issue, resolve it. So we go into the emotions of it, the mindset, the talking of it. We look at the physical side, how it's manifesting in your body, how it's playing out around you. You know, maybe it's playing out in stopping you from going for your dreams, or from getting that next pay rise, or in your relationships. So we really sort of look at all different areas that your shadow aspect is holding you back and stopping you from actually going forward with your life. Perhaps and I was very much the same. You know, I would start all these different things, but I would never finish them. You know, something always came up for me to sort of stop doing them, or I just didn't like doing them. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And I was so used to quitting things, like starting, because yes, I have all this enthusiasm, and then I'll quit it. And that was like a pattern that has played out for me for a long time, about not feeling worthy, like I can achieve it, that I do deserve that. I do deserve to have abundance and wealth and prosperity and happiness. So really delving into your shadow self and facing your fears. So it's, you know, working with me is a journey. It's a transformational journey where we delve into your shadow self, into your pain, your trauma, and what's holding you back, what emotions are stopping you, really facing them, being courageous. And then by facing them and removing them and clearing them, you're then able to actually allow yourself to dream and to have that inspiration and that motivation to go for it. So this is a big, I'm seeing more and more women that are wanting to actually delve into their shadow self and to remove those things. It's like they're ready now. They're sick of, you know, always not achieving, or always feeling like the rug's pulled out of them, or they just start to get that motivation and moving forward, and then something stops them. And, you know, all of this has come, everything that I do has come from my own life and what has happened. But a lot of it is also to do with the study that I did while I was teaching, when I did my special education teaching degree. Then when I went back and started my master's, a lot of that is all about the brain and how it works, and the psychology and how it affects individuals as children, but also as adults. So that's where I've got all of my experience from my own life, but also through my teaching and all that study that I've had to do, um, to be looking at the mindset and how it works and how it affects us, and how we get triggered, and all of those different sorts of things as well. So, you know, if you're actually interested in finding out a bit more about what your shadow self, what does that mean? Or how can I, you know, how can I clear some of that? Or you're wanting to know how I can work with you, you know, I would love to hear any questions that you have. For me, it was about, I realized after, when I was probably when I was about 46, I was so sick of the repeating patterns and nothing seemed to be working out, that I knew I had to be brave. I had to put on my Bridget Jones big girl undies, and I had to face my fears. For me, that was the only way forward, by facing my fears, facing my shadow selves. I was so sick. I was sick to death of, you know, my past really affecting my life, creating all the pain and the trauma, and going back, delving back. I felt like I was always being triggered back into what happened. And I wanted to have control of my life. I wanted fear to stop being the one in control and telling me what I could do. So that's when I decided, right, that's it. I'm facing my fear. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to heal myself and and work out and why do I feel like I'm not worthy. So that's when it was time for me to actually delve into that and to discover. I went on this big transformational journey to find out, who am I, what are my values, what are my beliefs, why do I feel like I'm not worthy. So if you're ready for that transformational journey to find yourself and to look into your shadow aspects and to heal them and to face them, and it's like wrapping them up with love and bringing them back into your heart so that you're whole again. And that's the key thing that I learned with shadow work. It's not like you have to get rid of it and throw it out. You have to actually wrap it in love and bring it back into your heart so that you're whole. Your whole body is embodying those shadow aspects, so your soul can be complete and your chakras can be um, complete as well. All those splintered off sides and aspects all come back in. Alrighty, I can see a couple of people. I'll just put on my glasses so I can read. Hey Stella, lovely to see you. Okay, so everybody, thank you so much for listening. Have a lovely day. And if you're wanting to know more about how to work with your shadow self, how to clear them and to fill them with love and bring them back, please comment or message below or send me a personal message and I can get back to you. Bye. Have a lovely day.